How y'all doing? This is Mungo Slade, and just when I try to get out, I get pulled back in. We're talking about TV ratings again. Now, this is for a good reason because our boy Eric Bischoff, I found this clip. I don't listen to the Eric Bischoff show anymore, but I do occasionally check out the clips if I feel like they're pretty interesting. This clip is very, very interesting. Eric Bischoff is going to ask a question and answer the question. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to play pieces of this clip, and then I'm going to respond to them, and then we're going to read some articles. Well, not read the whole thing, but read some articles because he has a good point. So let's get started with Eric.
I've been actually doing some research in terms of where has the audience gone. We're going off into the weeds. Boom, hit the brakes, jump out of the car. I see a bunch of weeds, we're going to jump in. Here we go. I've said this before, don't mean to be redundant, but context is king. Last October 14th, 2019, SmackDown premieres on Fox. 3.4 some odd million viewers.
Right.
Fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
A month later, they're down to 2.5 million, roughly. Where'd those million people go?
Good question.
Where'd they go? What are they doing today? How come they're not watching next Friday?
Right.
Or the Friday after that? Or the Friday after that? This is pre-COVID.
Right.
Pre-COVID. 1 million people showed up because they heard the restaurant was opening its doors. They came in, they ordered a meal, and they left and never came back. Right?
Correct.
I want to know why.
Good question.
If I'm Tony Khan and I'm looking at my current situation, by the way, if I'm Tony Khan and I just broke 1 million viewers, I'd be pretty happy with my current situation in many respects. But
I don't know when this was that AEW broke 1 million viewers, but this clip is 3 months old. I don't know when this episode dropped. This is from the Fall Brawl 94 episode. So I don't know when AEW broke 1 million viewers again. But right now, Eric Bischoff is on a roll. He's talking about something that's very important. He's really going to hit the nail on the head a little bit later. But let's keep going. I'm really enjoying listening to Eric Bischoff, man.
Overall, when I quit being happy about my current situation, I would sit back and go, When we premiered last October, we opened up with 1.41 million people. Now we're fighting tooth and nail to get to 1 million. And by the way, pre-COVID, we were averaging around 850 or 9. Where'd those 500,000 viewers go? How come they showed up on the premiere and they sampled it? They stuck the head in the door. They may have ordered an appetizer if we're a restaurant. They may have even ordered a meal. And when they were done, they left and they never came back. I would really want to know that. We call them lapsed fans, but I think there's more than the 1 million people that showed up at the SmackDown restaurant on October 14th, 2019 and decided to order a meal and left and never came back. And I think there's more than 400,000 or 500,000 viewers that went to the AEW restaurant, ordered an appetizer or meal and left and never came back. I think there's way more than that 1.5 million people out there. I think there are millions of people out there, potentially, that used to really love professional wrestling because it was one of the first forms of real alternative entertainment in the television world. It wasn't sports, it wasn't comedy, it wasn't drama, it wasn't news, it wasn't any of the above, but it was all kind of a little bit of everything.
Now, wrestling in the past, back in the 50s, people used to think wrestling was real. So they watched it as they watched regular, regular sports. But so I don't people didn't really know. And then some people did know, but it seems kind of weird that we would kind of just say that's what we would go with when it comes to the reason people watched wrestling. I don't entirely agree with that. But he is right that wrestling is alternative media. That is very much the truth.
It was real alternative television. Somehow, not only the million people from last October 14, 2019 at the SmackDown restaurant and the 400,000 or 500,000 people that went to the AEW restaurant. Not only do those people show up, have a bite to eat, decided, nah, not for me, and went away and never came back, I think there are millions more just like them out there. The question is, where did they go and why? Why?
Okay, now he really about to hit the nail on the head on this, but this is a really good question. And a lot of people would say, it's the quality of the product and different things like that. But I think he's about to nail something. But I think he also, when he nails it, he bent the nail a little bit. So let's really kind of give him the opportunity to go ahead and answer this question.
The one question nobody ever asks about fucking anything, whether it's politics, whether it's biology, but now biology is probably not a good example, whether it's politics, it's entertainment, whatever it is, why? Why did those people leave and where did they go? And I have a theory. And my theory, I'm going to lay it all right here. I haven't completed my research yet. I'm going to spend some time this week, and I'm going to actually have some people help me do it to really illustrate this. But my guess right now, it's all it is a guess, because I don't have my data completed yet. My instinct tells me that 18 to 49-year-old demo that everybody talks so much about because now it's out there in the trades, it's always been there. It's always been the key demo, by the way. But now it's become more important because that's what people are writing about. That demo, where are they? If you look at the weekly ratings, if you look at WWE's ratings, if you look at AEW's ratings, and you look at the breakdowns and the demos and the people watching all the stuff that's out there, it's in the public domain. Anybody can access it. You don't have to, go to a website to see it, or you don't have to subscribe to somebody's dirt sheet to see it, because it's all out there in the public domain. And if you look at where that audience is, my sense, not firm belief yet, is those people are watching the news. Right.
Yes, they are. That's where they went. A lot of people are watching the news. Now, he's going to get into what he thinks it is about the news that is gripping and interesting. That part is not going to be correct. But this part, very much correct. Over the last year, and for several years, we'll get into it in a minute, the cable news have been banging as far as ratings are concerned. The highest rated show is usually Tucker Carlson. And he comes on at 9 o'clock, I believe, 8 or 9 o'clock. And then for the last couple of weeks, this is being recorded on December 26th. So the last couple of weeks, the MSNBC shows have been going up in ratings. And I'm going to explain why. But I'm going to let Eric Bischoff finish his thought.
Look at Tucker Carlson's 18 to 49. Look at CNN's 18 to 49. Look at MSNBC's and in prime time. Look at their 18 to 49. That was the wrestling audience. Where have they gone? They've gone to cable news. Why have they gone to cable news? Because cable news is now more like professional wrestling than professional wrestling used to be. The promos are fucking awesome. You got to, regardless of your political ideology or what you believe in or who you listen to or where you get your information from, it doesn't fucking matter. Fox, MSNBC, CNN, you name it, everybody does the same thing. They get up there and they fucking argue and they cut great promos on each other. It's great narrative. There's almost always somebody up there that you want to choke, and there's almost always somebody up there that's saying what you believe in. So guess what? You have more emotion. You're investing more emotion watching cable fucking news than you get from watching wrestling, because the promos are better.
All right. So that's it for Eric, okay? The real reason why people are watching the news is two things. One, Donald Trump was the president of the United States, and there was constant crises. Russia, China, North Korea. There's always some type of crisis. The cable news feeds off of people's crisis. Crisis does so well for the news, right? They called it the Trump bump. All right. That's what they've been calling it in the news. This was in 2017, the Trump bump. This is from Columbia Journalism Review. The Trump bump, how covering Trump has changed the careers of some journalists' hottest names. from fall 2017. This has been amazing. It says, so one guy, Sopan Dib, culture reporter for the New York Times, said, without covering the Trump campaign, I would not be at the New York Times. This job is the best I'll ever have in my life. And as a result of covering that campaign, I get to do cool stuff. So you have people who say, I've been a journalist for 17 years, and I've kind of a mascot for journalism this past year. I've gotten into graduation speeches, talking to groups of young people, and it's great to see people get interested, be inspired. It's allowed me to be an advocate and hopefully express to people why this job is so important. And then somebody says, as much as Donald Trump says that he hates the press corps, he's been really good for a lot of us. A lot of us got promotions out of this. Some folks got book deals. Some newsrooms have had record revenue levels. My career skyrocketed in large part due to the energy around the election, which was caused in large part by Donald Trump. I host my own NPR show now that's soon going to be on the radio. I think had I not had that year and a half covering the election and covering Trump, it would have taken me 10 years to get here. Whether he knows it or not, he fast-tracked my career. Somebody else said, because of feelings about him and what he's doing to the country, I channeled that into my drawings. I go with it. The best drawings are when you get into the zone, and I do that a lot more now. This has been an amazing thing for the news. This has been an amazing thing for the news, the Trump bump. And it's been a real thing for a long time now. That was in 2017. There have been people who have been making their bones off of this thing, right? Here is from this is from the AP from 2019, February 6th. The New York Times is adding large numbers of digital subscribers and growing its digital revenue. The Times added 265,000 digital subscriptions in the last 3 months of the year, the most significant increase since Donald Trump has been elected president. The paper has landed repeated scoops on the Trump administration. Trump has a tempestuous, what kind of word? Relationship with the Times, sitting for interviews and with its reporters and executives soaking up its coverage while frequently complaining about it. The Times' impressive performance in taking place in a perilous media era, gains from digital advertising has failed to offset a shortfall from the print side, and newsroom employment fell by nearly a quarter between 2008 and 2017, according to Pew Research. In the past several days, Vice Media announced 250 job cuts, about 10% of their global staff. Newspaper publisher McClatchy offered voluntary buyouts of 13% of its staff, about 450 people, and digital media company BuzzFeed said it will cut 200 people. Verizon is cutting about 800 jobs in its media division, which includes Yahoo and HuffPost. So you're talking about the media is dying, right? But what's keeping it alive? Trump is keeping it alive. Well, he was. Trump was keeping the media alive. But it's not just Trump. It was not just Trump. Let's go to Variety. This is from April 28th, 2020. TV ratings, cable news views soar during pandemic. In other words, people are watching the news, one, because you had constant stuff with Donald Trump on the news, and people were very, very interested in that. Two, people are now very, very interested in COVID. If you're going to talk about COVID, people are going to watch and pay attention. And then it's 2020 is an election year. So election year always has cable news going up, right? This is why, some people were kind of like the Joe Biden thing was a double-edged sword. Joe Biden was going to be a boring president, which would mean people were less likely to watch the news. But they were more likely to get their agendas passed because he's a boring president. As opposed to Donald Trump, where he says some things, he makes fun of somebody, he does a comment, and all of a sudden you got 5 or 6 hours of media you can get out of that stuff that people are willing to read and soak up and take and basically use for your channel, like Rachel Maddow and the Young Turks and all these people. They constantly looking for little things to blow out of proportion because they need controversy. This is what Bischoff is perfect for. talking about the importance and how you monetize controversy. But this is the cable news, right? So this is from Variety. Viewership for all three of the nation's main cable news outlets soared in April as viewers tuned in at all hours for information on the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. While Fox News captured the most viewers during the month, CNN notched the biggest audience gain across its total day, scoring an increase of 179% in viewers between the ages of 25 and 54, the demographic most coveted by advertisers and news programs. Fox News, which had the most viewers in the category, saw an increase of 83% among viewers between 25 and 54, while MSNBC notched a gain of 54%. Okay, so this is amazing. If you look at the 18 to 49, which you talk about in WWE and AEW, 25 to 54 is pretty similar, right? That's right in the middle of that 18 to 49, right? That is, people who are not quite college age. Maybe you're at the end of your college days, and now you're sitting around watching the news because you want to know what's going on, right? So that's from Variety, and that's from April. Okay, I have another article here from Deadline. This is from December 24th. Cable news networks see big gains in viewership during tumultuous 2020. The major news networks are touting big ratings gains in 2020 after the coronavirus crisis and the presidential election drove viewers in record numbers to their lineups. Fox News will finish the year at the top of the news channels in prime time with an average of 3.6 million viewers, up 45% from the same period the previous year. MSNBC averaged 2.2 million, a boost of 24%. CNN saw an even greater increase as it was up 85% to 1.8 million. So it's not the promos, dog. What it is crisis. It's one of those, if it bleeds, it leads. Okay? The world is gripped in pandemic. People want to know whether they should be wearing a mask or not, whether they should be locked down. What are the scientists saying? What is this doctor saying? What are these people saying? What are these people doing? Are these governors paying? Are they, what's the vaccine about? It's been constant back and forth in the news, and this stuff's been going on for months now. Months. You've been having months of the pandemic. This is why, the journalists are like, shut up and stay at home, because they get to make money and write news articles. They didn't lose their jobs. Journalists got to continue sitting at home in their goddamn pajamas. They're like Lilo and Stitch pajamas, writing these fucking articles. But it's been Trump and it's been coronavirus. Now, I'm not going to say completely that all the viewers that SmackDown and AEW lost are due to coronavirus and Trump. I'm not saying that, once the pandemic is over, all of a sudden SmackDown's going to have 3.5 million viewers again. No. You can't do the grand opening again. But I do expect, when all that stuff dies down, people will go back to their regular viewing stuff. They will go back to watching the things that they were watching already anyway. They may start going back to watch SmackDown. They may go back to watching AEW. They may go back to watching whatever other shows were on the air at the same time. But once all of this presidential stuff is over and Trump is out of office, the pandemic will be the only thing keeping the cable news alive. Because they've been talking for months now, years maybe, about cable news sucking, being almost dead. Of course, the print media is dead. Several news companies have gone out of business very quietly. They've been buying each other, going out of business. It's like, it's not the promos, dog. It's not the quality of the matches. It's not the quality of the performers. I think that's what we want to think, because that's the easiest thing easiest way to connect it. It's that a lot of people are scared. They care more about the virus than they do about SmackDown. They care more about the virus than they do about Raw or AEW or Kenny Omega or any individual person. Now, there are some people who just say, well, I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'd rather watch wrestling. Or, you watch the news later or something like that. But, You also have, as far as that cable news, like this, continuing this along this line, this frame of thought, you also have a lot of people who, this age group that we're talking about, the 18 to 34, they don't. A lot of them don't really have cable. Okay, cord cutting is still a very real thing, but you do have, and I think this is the biggest issue when it comes to Raw and SmackDown. Because if you look at the ratings, you just look at the ratings, and you can tell that it's been ridiculous when it comes to cable news. Matter of fact, let's talk about that. Let's talk about these cable ratings. Okay, these are the ratings from this is from the TV ratings guide. Monday cable ratings 12, 21, 20. So Raw comes in fourth place with a 0.55 in the 18 to 49 demographic, 1.7 million viewers, right? This was, of course, beaten by SportsCenter, Monday Night Football Kickoff, and Steelers versus Bengals. Steelers versus Bengals had 12 million, almost 13 million viewers. Now, compare that to the Rachel Maddow show. Now, Raw got a higher rating than the Rachel Maddow show, but let's get to how many viewers watched Rachel Maddow. It got a 2.6 in the 18 to 49 demographic, right? 3.38 million viewers. 3.38. This is the highest rated cable news show, right? And it did get beat by like the Honey Baking Championships, but it's ranked by ratings. Okay, so this was the bounce back apparently from the record low ratings of Raw from the previous week, I believe it was. So let's take a look at that. Oh, so the previous week, Monday cable ratings 12, 14, 20, right? Raw did a 0.4 and 1.63 million viewers. CNN special coverage did a 0.42, 3.39 million viewers. And there were 2 hours of that. The Ravens and the Browns got 12 million viewers. SportsCenter Below Deck, Aaron Burnett Out Front, I believe that's also news. It got a 0.45, 3.3 million, 3 million viewers. Anderson Cooper got a 0.4, 2.65 million viewers. I believe this is the third hour of Raw. They got 1.4 million viewers and did a 0.3. CNN special coverage, 0.35. CNN special coverage, 0.35. There have been numerous hours of CNN special coverage. Rachel Maddow, 0.3. 3.51 million viewers. Like Tucker Carlson, 0.2, 3.5 million, 0.27. I'm sorry. So the cable news have been kicking ass, right? In the 18 to 34. They've been kicking ass. And, this stuff is easily verifiable if people just wanted to look at it. Now, of course, I'm not saying that, things will go back to normal when the election is over. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying things will go back to normal when the pandemic is over. Because a lot of people legitimately, as I've said before, cut the cord. They no longer watch this shit. They probably just watch the clips on YouTube. And, same thing with the news. Some people don't sit down and watch all of Tucker Carlson. I don't. If I see a 2-minute clip of Rachel Maddow on Twitter or something, I watch that. I'm not about to sit down and watch that bird all day. Ain't no way. But this was very important stuff. And I think Eric Bischoff really nailed something that I had noticed, but I didn't really bind it together, because what the glue for me was when he mentioned the demographics, because I never looked at the demographics for the news before. I already knew that more people watch the news than watch Raw. I already knew that. Like, that was obvious. You can look at any basic TV ratings and you can see that cable news will be somewhere near the top. But there were reasons for it. I already knew about the Trump bump. I already knew about that. I already knew about if it bleeds, it leads, and we're talking about a global pandemic. I already knew about that. But I did not bring it together that maybe there's going to be people within the demographic that we're talking about, the 18 to 34, that moved on to watching the news. at least for now. Okay? Are they going to come back? Who knows? But the news is beating ass right now. And this is very good stuff. And I think this is very important. I don't think it's because pro wrestling isn't doing its job. I think that it still has some weaknesses, but The biggest weakness is pro wrestling is not real. You know, what people believe what they see on Fox and what they believe what they see on MSNBC. They know if they see that WWE logo, 90% of what it is a work. People have not caught up to what is a work on Fox yet. They haven't found out that MSNBC is a work or that CNN is a work. They haven't gotten there yet. Most people believe what they see on TV. It's just true. Unless it's an actual TV show, if somebody puts on a suit and wears some smart glasses, people believe what they say. Even if it's 90% bullshit. The news, period, is 90% bullshit. I don't give a fuck who you get your news from. 90% of it is bullshit. It's slanted one way or the other. And sometimes it's just flat out fucking wrong. But you're talking about an election year, which always does great for the news. Now you've got a pandemic, which also does great for the news. So does war. So does disaster. There was recently that bombing in Nashville. They're going to be talking about that all day. The news feeds off of people's panic and their desire for more information. This is perfect. Eric Bischoff nailed it. I love this. This is great. Thank you guys for listening. Share this video. Be sure to share this information. Spread it around as much as possible. Talk about it as much as possible. I want people to be aware. And I want people to be, to know that it's not just, oh, well, look at, my ratings. It's like you have to look at everything. Look at what's beating it, what's it competing with, what's changing, what's, as he said, context is king, man. This is good stuff, This is good stuff, man. I appreciate y'all time, Glad you listened, glad you stopped by, glad you clicked. Thank you guys for listening. #3Count commentaries. And I'll talk to you guys later.
I can paint the lawn with the sun.